Well, you may remember about 6 months ago, we gave you a little program called Where Have All the Organs Gone? And we found that they'd nearly all gone into Anglia. But we got so many letters from an awful lot of people that said, well, my pal's got one down the road. Somebody else has got one. I've got one in my house. What about somebody or other somewhere else? So much so that we decided that there seemed to be about another 20, and we'd introduce you to a few more tonight. Where's a better place to begin than a cinema, where there still is one, as you see coming up, and all that lovely nonsense that we used to have in the 1930s. Actually 1937, because this one in the ABC in Ipswich was opened in 1937 by the famous Harold Ramsey. That's why you got the Rhapsody in Blue. So we're going to play the same sort of music that we did play then, and here is the piece we're going to play. It's called The Hampden Roar. That's the sort of stuff they used to play then. Well, now, this was, and has been for quite a few years, the sort of love child of a firm called the Ipswich Light Organ Music Society. Ipswich Light, ILOMO. And unfortunately, it's doomed to be transplanted somewhere else. But ILOMO are not in the least worried, because they've got another one. And you'll never guess where. The Castle Hill Congregational Church, Ipswich. Now, you wouldn't expect to find a cinema organ here, would you? But as we said from the ABC, this was where the Ipswich Light Organ Music Society have got their new organ. So we're going inside to meet their chairman, Mr. Spencer Pryor.
The Ipswich Light Organ Music Society could see that all the cinema organs were coming out of the cinemas, and we had to make some provision for our members. And we bought this cinema organ from the Century Cinema at Clacton-on-Sea. And having bought it, of course, we had to find somewhere to install it. And here it is in a church, and it is, of course, used for a dual purpose.
Such as?
Well, it is used as a church organ here in church on Sundays, and it is used as an entertainment organ, a cinema organ, a theatre organ, call it what you like, It is here for our purposes as well as the church.
Well, thank you very much. Now we'll see what it sounds like on Sunday. There you are in church. Now we're going to show you what a Christie organ. This is a particular favourite of mine, not this particular one, but I learnt to play on a Christie organ. So we're still staying slightly religious, although we're going to go completely into cinema idiom. We're going to play you a thing called the Irish Washerwoman, which I once played in church, and the vicar said, well, she's probably the most holy person in the congregation. You listen to that. This is Spalding, a town of spring flowers. And it's also the home of Roy Trawfords. He lives across the river in that very lovely Georgian house there. And guess where he keeps his cinema organ? Right up there on the top floor of the house. 3 old bedrooms made the room that you hear it in, and another one where the actual pipes and so on are. And the console is in what is now the playroom. It must have been quite a job getting it up there.
It certainly was, Gerald. It was mainly by manpower, nothing very mechanical, I'm afraid. The main thing, I think, was the actual blower and the motor that drives the blower. I think the whole outfit weighs about 800 weight, and 3 men slugged up our 2 flights of stairs and brought the motor up, and the blower was brought up in 4 sections. The rest of the organ was mainly a matter of manpower. It took a good deal of carrying and a great number of journeys, and I wouldn't like to put it up here now. I did this 10 years ago when I was that little bit younger, I think.
No. But tell me, Although you got the organ up here, you didn't get the blower the full way, did you? Isn't it sort of halfway down the landing?
No, actually, it's just outside this room. That was another problem, of course, keeping down the sound from the point of view of sound insulation. It's a pretty noisy thing, as you know, but we've got a fair amount of padding on the doors, and it's not particularly audible in this room, I don't think.
Oh, well, talking about sound, which one obviously does when one lives in a place like this, what about the neighbours when you're bashing it away?
Oh, well, we're pretty safe there. My next-door neighbours, they live in a Queen Anne house, and it's separated by 2 very thick walls, and they've never complained as yet, and there are no neighbours on the other side, apart from one of my tenants, actually.
Well, he can't do anything about it, can he? And, of course, these old houses, they had lovely thick walls. Tell me, where'd you come from?
Well, this organ originally came from the Cameo in Charing Cross Road, but it was later on moved over to Lincoln, and it was in the Odeon there. I think it went in 1938, and I bought it and removed it about 10 or 12 years ago from the Odeon in Lincoln.
Well, you know, this is a funny thing, because all the nuts have been writing to all the cinema organ journals and saying, whatever happened to the organ in the Cameo Charing Cross Road? And they were quite sure that it had gone to the Cameo Regent Street. And you've got it.
Yes, I've got it.
Right-o. Well, anybody that's listening that belongs to COS, this answers your question of about 10 years ago. Eh?
This is certainly so, and I say the pipes are actually stamped. A lot of the pipes are stamped Cameo Cinema London.
Have you added anything to it?
Yes, originally it started off, of course, in town as a 2/8, and when it was moved it was converted to a 2 1/8, and since then I've added 2 ranks of pipes to it, and I've substituted a WurliTzer tibia for the original Compton one, and we've picked the best of a number of stops in our pillaging and added them to this organ. It is a hybrid, though the bulk of the machine is, I should say 2/3 of it is original John Compton, but I say with a little addition from WurliTzer and another one from Konica, and that's about it. But the bulk of the machine is quite original.
Well, I haven't played it very often. When was it when we last met?
Well, I think you came over here and gave a performance for the Theatre Organ Club one Sunday afternoon about 10 years ago. And we had about 50 people in this room. It was much clearer than it is at the present moment.
Yes, I remember your dog barked and barked and barked, and he said he was the most intelligent person in the audience.
He might well have been at that, actually, looking back.
Well, anyhow, we were talking about hybrids, and of course this is flower country, so I ought to play Tiptoe Through the Tulips, oughtn't I? But I'm not going to.
Well, I hope you're not, because of all the mediocre tunes I can think of.
Righto, well then we'll settle for Russell of Spring?
Ah, yes, Mr. Sinding. Yes, yes.